Gotta represent the new monarchy. Greetings, fellow makers. Welcome down to the shop. Welcome to Prop 3D, your guide to 3D printing for prop and costume making. I'm Bill, and today I made a lot of progress on the old Boolean Gemini scout rifle from Destiny. The other day I sat down for a marathon session and modeled a whole bunch of pieces on this guy. Now, I didn't record any of that, but I am planning on doing a live stream here very soon where I sit down and do a bunch of modeling for the Boolean Gemini in Fusion 360 to show off for you guys. That'll be on twitch.tv/punishedprops. You can head on over there and follow us. We usually stream those at noon Pacific on Tuesdays, but it'll be recorded and put up on the YouTube channel for viewing later. I printed all of these pieces out on the Ultimaker behind me. They were all printed using Matterhackers Pro PLA, and they came out pretty great. And for those curious about the specific settings that I use, I went to Simplify 3D and I just put it on the high setting. I believe it was 0.2mm layer height. I put a raft on there and I put support material on there. I tend to overcompensate when it comes to printing parts, especially if I'm gonna leave them overnight on this printer. Some of these prints took over 10 hours to do. I wanna make sure that they finish, so I don't mind wasting a little bit of material on a raft and support material. Like I said though, these pieces came out great. Now, I can't quite hold the gun yet, but it is starting to look a lot like a real thing. The quality was fantastic, but there were a couple of things that weren't perfect due to my rush to model the parts. First, the front foregrip part didn't slide all the way into the rear foregrip part. I'm not exactly sure what happened in the model, but I definitely goofed it up a little bit. So instead of fixing the model and then reprinting it, I took it to the bandsaw. I chopped off about 1/4 inch on the back side of that part. This is a piece you won't even see, and the piece fit perfectly. Let's hear it for power tools. I also noticed part of the trigger guard that really should have been beveled in the model, but again, I just plain forgot to do it when I was modeling it. So I brought it over to my disc sander. I set the bed to 45 degrees and sanded a nice little chamfer into that part. This actually melted the PLA a little bit and it didn't quite cut into the infill. So all I had to do was a little bit of trimming and sanding and the part looked great. This just goes to show that some power tools and a little bit of know-how can go a long way to augment how you finish your 3D printed parts. It can also save you a lot of time. I didn't have to reprint those parts. I just tweaked them a bit on the power tool, good to go. I did, however, go back to those models and fix them. That way I know if I have to reprint these parts, they'll come out perfectly. Now, along with these new parts, I started doing a little bit of finishing work on some of the pieces we've already printed. The downside of printing with a raft and support material is that some of the surfaces that these additional parts will come in contact with print out a little bit rough. Obviously, this is not the ideal finish and we'll want to smooth them out. One of my favorite fast methods is with super glue. You can squeeze a little bit of CA glue into the strands of the filament, spray it with some accelerant, and then start sanding it smooth right away. I like using this method because the super glue actually holds the filament strands in place. Sometimes sanding this type of a part can knock those strands free, causing unwanted strings. After doing one pass with the super glue, if the texture isn't quite right, you can always go back in for another pass. Just put in more super glue, spray it with the accelerant, and then sand it down smooth. For some of the deeper areas, I really like mixing in baby powder with the super glue to create a little bit of a paste. This is like a really quick setting body filler, like Bondo. It's thick enough to sculpt a little bit and you can spray it again with that accelerant and start sanding right away. I really like how quick this method is. On a side note, know that using lots of super glue can irritate your eyes and nose, and it's possible to develop a sensitivity to this stuff. So don't huff it and wear a respirator if you plan on doing a lot of this. After sanding these super glued parts down to a 220 or 400 grit, you'll end up with a very nice finish. The difference between these filled and sanded areas compared to the stringy looking unfinished areas is even more apparent when you hit it with some spray paint primer. How about that? There's a smooth part that I would be very happy to start painting. But that'll have to wait for for another day. I've got a lot more sanding to do on all of these parts, and I'm gonna get to that here very soon. I'm not gonna make you watch me sand all those pieces, but by the next video in this series, I'm gonna start finishing and painting some of the pieces, so you're gonna wanna stick around to see those. Tell you what, I'm getting really excited about the progress I've made on this gun. It's actually kind of big enough and feels like a real gun thing. And with the next few pieces, I should be able to start assembling this thing, hold it like it's an actual gun. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. I hope you're getting as excited about the progress on this as I am. If you're new to the channel, of course, you're gonna wanna hit that subscribe button. We have a whole bunch more videos coming out in this series, along with our normal prop and costume making stuff. If you are working on any cool 3D printed props or costume pieces, let me know in the comments. I love to chat about those down there. And hey, if you like super glue, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. If you haven't seen the previous episodes on this build, well, you can click on those right there and check them out. See where this gun got its humble beginnings. All right. I've got to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Happy printing.